right, here's our video, Analytic Geometry. We're talking about finding the centroid. Fancy word. It just means finding the center of the triangle. That's all it means. So as you can see in the picture here, let's get my pen working. Right here, there it is. There's the centroid or the center. And we'll talk about that in the video. Well, it's an easy formula, very easy formula. And as also we'll talk about medians. What are medians? So if you can see right here with V, that's a vertex. And over here, V, there's another V with a subscript C, that's a midpoint. So the line segment going from the vertex to the midpoint is called a median. And you can see that there is 3 medians on this triangle, and they all will go through the centroid, which is usually we use a G for the centroid. So G is usually denoted for the centroid. Fancy. Sounds like some alien, right? Anyway, let's get a clean page here. All right, let's make a triangle so we can explain this. Well, let's say we have a triangle at, let's say, 2, 3. So there's 2 on the X, 1, 2, 3. So right there's 1. We'll just put 2. And there's 3. Right? 1, 2, 3. And let's have another one. Let's see, where else? We'll have one at 8, 1. That's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 8. We'll just put 8 there. And there's 1. Put a 1 there. And one more. We'll put, obviously we need one more. We need 3 vertices. How about 5, 7? So that'll be 3, 4, 5. And then we'll go 4, 5, 6, 7. All the way up there. So 5, 7. There we go. We have our 3 vertices. And let's attempt to connect them. Let's see. Try to make a straight line. There we go. Getting our kindergarten skills. And we'll try to get one over here. There we go. And all right, we did it. So now we have our triangle, and we're trying to find the center, and that'll be the centroid. As the alarm rings. Okay. It's always when you're making a video, right? The office is always calling. Anyway, so we have our points, and the formula is a simple formula. So to find G, we're just going to say x subscript 1 plus x subscript 2 plus x, almost said egg, x subscript 3 and divided by 3. So what is x subscript 1? Well, it's just all the x's that you see here, right? So we have a 2 for an x over here, right? This is 2, 3. So we have a 2, right? Over here we have 5, 7, right? So we have a 5. Well, we don't have to put the comma. And over here we have 8, 1. So we have an 8. So if we add all that and divide it by 3, right? So we have 15 divided by 3, and we have 5. So we know that wherever G is, it's going to have 5 for its x. And we're going to do the same with y. So what do you think that would be? Why don't you pause the tape and if you want. So again, it's going to be y subscript 1 plus y subscript 2 plus y subscript 3 and divided by 3. That's all it is. And whatever y's you want to use. It doesn't matter how you use it. You know the addition is commutative, so we can say 7 plus 3 plus 1. That gives us 11. And 11 over 3 will give us a fraction. It will give us 3 2/3. Or you can just use a decimal if you want. So 3 2/3 would be the y, right over here. 3 2/3. So our G, we'll use green for G, why not? Our G will be at 5, and then 3 2/3, so it's about there. Don't know exactly where it is because we don't have that type of graph paper. But there it is. There's the centroid. Now, what the centroid will also do is, obviously it's the center of the triangle, it will connect medians. So what are medians? Write down median over here. Or medians. A little tilted today. So from any vertex right here, so here's a vertex I just did in green, all the way to a midpoint. And the midpoint is the middle of each line segment on the triangle. So that could be a middle, that could be a middle. And of course, I'm just doing a rough draft of it. So from the middle, the midpoint, all the way to a vertex, cutting through G, that's a median. So we'll use another color. Let's use, I'll use black. So if, let's say that was a midpoint and it went cut right through G and right to the vertex, that's a median. There's one. And then over here, way up at 5, 7, cutting through G, going to that midpoint, there's another median. And there's the third one. So we have 3 medians that can cut the triangle. That's what a median is. And again, the centroid is the middle where all 3 medians will connect. Now I'll clear some of this out. And from the last videos, if you want to go back, you don't have to, but we talked about the distance formula and how to get the midpoints. So let's prove that G is 5 on the X and 3 2/3 on the Y. One thing you should know about the vertex, not the vertex, but the centroid, is it will always be from this line segment, from any median, it'll be 2/3 of the median. It'll always be 2/3 of the median or 1/3, right? So it's dividing the median into a ratio of 2 to 1. So for example, and let me just change the color a little over here, from G over here, the center, from the center all the way, if we make this line straight down to a vertex, that'll be 2/3 of the total line. Or if we go down from another part of it, it could be 1/3 of the total line, depending on how we look at it. So let's look at that. Let's clean this out, and we'll show the distance formula and the midpoint to prove it. All right, and just keep in mind again that the ratio will be always 2 to 1. So we have 2 lines, right? And if we get our pen going over here, and we'll use, well, we had black, so why don't we use that color. So from this vertex here all the way to G that I'm drawing right there, that we can see it's longer than, and we'll just change the color again. Maybe we use that color, see if it works. So the ratio is 2 to 1. 2 to 1. So let's look at how we can do this with math. We said that G, well, we have 2 points here, right? We have 2, 3. We're trying to find a distance from this vertex 2, 3 to the vertex 8, 1. We can find the distance by taking the one vertex, taking the other vertex, and we'll get the midpoint. That's what we want to find. Let's get the midpoint. That's what we're really trying to find, not the distance. So the midpoint formula is x1 plus x2 divided by 2. So we have 2 x's, right? That's an x, that's a y, that's an x, that's a y. And the same for the y. So if we took them, we can use 8 plus 2 over 2. That's 10 over 2. And we know that 5 would be the x right there. Actually, we can see it's 5, 2, right? We can see it right there. Well, let's make sure, let's prove it. And then y1 plus y2 over 2. So the y's, we have a y over here. We have 8, of 1 and 3. So 1 plus 3 over 2 is 4 over 2 is 2. So, and we can see this on the graph. 5, 2 is the midpoint. And we already put it down. 5, 2 is the midpoint. So if we wanted to find the distance between this vertex 5, 2 and this distance 5, 7, we can do the distance formula. So let's do that over there. We have a square root. And we're going to take x subscript 1 minus x subscript 2 and then square it. And then add that to the y's. Y subscript 1 plus y subscript 2. Just made it. Let's bring an arrow down over there. So the x's obviously are 5, so they're just 0, so we don't have to worry about that. And the y's, we have 7 minus 2 squared. Remember, there's a square over there. So that'll be 5 squared, and 5 squared is 25. And the square root of 25 is 5. So the distance from the vertex 5, 2 to the vertex 5, 7, this whole line here, I'll use another color, which I'll use purple. This whole line that cuts right through G is 5 units. So the midpoint, or the centroid, should be 2/3 of it at one point. So the ratio, we need to follow this ratio. So let's look at that. All right, just made it a little more clearer to see. So again, so we have a line going from G, just say that's G, which is the centroid, all the way to this midpoint here, and then from G to the midpoint here. We'll call that midpoint A, we'll call that midpoint B. Actually, the A is a vertex. But if we use the distance formula, so we already know that G was at 5 and 3.67. Or you can say 3 2/3, right? That was the Y. And if we take, let's say, the midpoint B, well, the midpoint B is at 5, 2. So let's find the distance with that. So again, we're going to not have to deal with the x because 5 minus 5 is 0, so we'll just put a 0 there. 0 squared is 0. And then we're going to add that to 7 minus 3.67. And then we're going to square it. So actually, if we did 7, we're doing A. Well, we can do A. Why not? We'll just do A. And then we'll do B. So what we're going to get here is we're just going to get 7 minus 3.67 is 3.33. And if you squared that, you'll get 11.08 or 11.09 roughly. But if you square that, if you square root that, you'll just get 3.33. Now, if we did the same with, so that's just A. The length of A is 3.33. That means the length of B should follow the ratio of 2 to 1. So that should be, if we do the math correctly, it should be like 1.67. So if we don't get 1.67, we did something wrong. Let's check. So again, we have 5 and 3.67 for the G, the centroid, and 5, 2. Last time we did 5, 7. Let's just correct that, say 7. Now we're doing 5, 2. So again, the x's cancel, they're just 0. But now we're doing 2, right? Or we can just say 3.67 minus 2. Doesn't matter if we did 2 minus 3.67, you'll still get the same answer. And that'll be 1.67 squared, which is 2.789 roughly. And if you square root that, you'll just get 1.67, which we found right here. So the math proved it. So there's the ratio of 2 to 1. All right, so go back if you need to. Again, the centroid is the middle of the triangle. That's all it is. All right, that's our video today.